And make sure you get flutes in the chat, because it is time for everybody's favorite segment. So nice, it turned into its own show. And it is called Dave Meltzer's Dumb Moment of the Week. And probably no bass Meltzer, but we'll bring the flute one time. And another thing that's obvious is the way that he likes to stooge for WWE and protect AEW. And I have a brilliant example of that, starting with the recent free agency talks. And of course, Tommaso Ciampa showing up last night, Time Cop, in AEW and making his debut, challenging Mark Briscoe. People, the dirt sheets, are running around all patting themselves on the back. This extends to beyond Dave Meltzer here, but they're all patting themselves on the back because they're all like, oh, this guy knew and said Ciampa would be gone and da-da-da-da-da-da. Where were the rollouts? Where were the graphics? Will Hobbs got a whole ass Fightful graphic confirmed by Sean Ross Hopp. Confirmed Will Hobbs going to WWE. Nobody said about Tommaso, and Dave tried to throw everyone off the scent. Tommaso Ciampa indicates his plans to go back to working independent shows after leaving WWE. Brian, it's like except Brian, there is talk of him trying to get into New Japan Pro Wrestling. What? And then he shows up immediately on Dynamite. So Dave trying to throw people off the scent, but then when it comes to Evil, he just goes, New Japan officially announced Evil leaving. Not announced, but headed to WWE. Now, this is one of many tweets, by the way. And again, we have a clip. So Dave just loves to stooge one way or the other. It's so obvious, his intention and what he does. And so here's Dave talking about Evil and Tommaso Ciampa's debut. And I just want to pull up this clip here. We got a bunch, guys. It's an overloaded, jam-packed show. So Dave pretty much buries Evil. Now, there's stories out there that Tony Khan apparently hates Evil.
Best guys, Tony Khan.
Dave also hates Evil. What a coincidence, you know? And a lot of people, a lot of New Japan fans, I guess, hate on Dave as well because his influence over New Japan has sort of tarnished it as well. But one guy that gets a lot of hate from Evil, or pardon me, from Dave, is Evil. And it just so happens Tony also hates Evil, or doesn't like him. Maybe hate's a strong word, but Dave's precise words were doesn't like him. And it's like, why? Did he personally offend him? And then some people are like, oh, the House of Torture was corny, but it's like that. It's just Moxley. They're just doing what the Death Riders do, but in New Japan. But yeah, Dave is burying Evil before he goes to WWE, gets ahead of things, talked about Evil, reveals that he's going to WWE allegedly, if we're to believe Dave, but it's kind of obvious, but he just gets right ahead of it. He's going to be in WWE. It's confirmed, just blowing up his spot as much as possible. And then with AEW, he thinks he's being slick by being like, oh yeah, Ciampa is going to go to New Japan and all this stuff. And then you don't expect he shows up. Then it's like a moment for AEW, even though they on moments. All the sickos and Dave, they go, oh, it's just moments and stuff when they criticize WWE. So again, I don't really care where Evil goes, just being perfectly honest. But yeah, if he came into WWE and was like a Rusev guy or whatever, he just comes in and puts some guys over and just has some Haas matches or whatever, I'm with it. And he could go work in Noah if they need him to, or just help work in NXT, get some guys over. I'm okay with all that.
But let's talk about Evil heading to WWE.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, it could go one of many different ways.
I think the most important story is that this is not the end of the House of Torture. Ren Narita is taking over.
Yeah, of course.
Thank God it can continue on with Evil leaving New Japan.
When Tanahashi first became president, the number one complaint that he got was House of Torture. And they took that as, oh, God, it's getting great heat because look at all these complaints. And, if if the heat was off the chart.
Yeah, it's cope because they're just trying to do Death Riders type shit out there because of Tony Khan and that whole. That's my theory, anyways, because Tanahashi and Tone love each other.
The best guy's Tony Khan.
It's great. And if business was doing great, then you say that. When business isn't doing so great, I don't see it as a big success. He can speak English, but I mean, he's a good wrestler.
He's a good wrestler. He can speak English. He's got size. He's got a look. He's been a former IWGP World Champion, but he won the belt when I thought Ospreay should have won it first, Brian.
Not a outstanding wrestler. You know what I mean? It's not like his ability.
The fuck does that even mean? What does this shit even mean, man? So I gotta bury Dave Meltzer. So you're just burying this guy. He's not like a good wrestler. What? Fuck you talking about?
He is so far above people that he's going to make a difference.
He's so far above people that he's going to make a difference. I don't see anything with. He's going to make a difference. What guy has gone to AEW, had banger matches, and made a difference? I'll flip it. What guy has gone to TNA, had banger matches that everyone's like, oh, bangers? Like, yeah, Nick Nemeth had some bangers, but were they getting glazed online the way these Fletcher matches get glazed, or some of the AJ versus Cena even, or some of these Punk matches? Fuck no. So what does that even mean, man? And then meanwhile, Ospreay hurts himself, and then Dave goes, God, I wish he should just work like a slower paced out. He could just work like top guy speed, essentially, is what the Usos and Roman and them call it. He could just be a good why does that not make he could just be a good hand who helps get guys over? Why does that make him not a good wrestler? It's just insane that he buries guys like this. And why? Because he's going to WWE. And do I think Dave would actually talk shit on this guy if he went to AEW? Yeah, a little bit, because he talks shit about Lashley and blah blah blah. But this is just Dave's. This is the thing. Dave's influence trumps all. It's not that Tony won't work with guys that Dave doesn't like. He strongly is considering everything Dave's saying, though. And this is how Dave influences people. There's a bunch of folks online just trashing Evil for no reason. Probably haven't even watched him work. 40-year-old Ciampa shows up in Dynamite. Everyone's like, man, bangers, Ciampa versus fucking Omega, man. Evil, what are you guys seeing? People calling him trash and stuff, saying that he's 41 and fucking garbage wrestler and all this shit. Meanwhile, he didn't get to the title doing that House of Torture shit. That came after. And it came after when Mox is doing this dumb shit. I don't think it's a coincidence. It comes after when Mox is doing this dumb shit. And then they create sort of their own Death Riders, and they help facilitate Jack Perry, who's ostracized from the fucking industry and goes away. For a long time, he's just gone. Had to go to Japan after the Punk shit. So he goes to Japan. He's like, I'm Raven, pretty much, trying to be this fucking cool hardcore guy. And it just doesn't work. They put him with this cool hardcore faction that's not really working. And Moxley's we're cool hardcore guys doesn't really work. And Dave is like, oh man, House of Torture just ruined Nuge. And they got this bad feedback. And then Tanahashi just didn't listen to it, and it's on him. Well, if that's the case, then he's real tight with Tony McCann or Tony Ron, right? So I just don't, I'm not trying to be a conspiracy theorist here, but I just think you can put one and one together.
Stands out to where he's going to be much of a difference maker as far as a guy, I mean, sure, he can be a guy. He's fine. And there's more money in WWE than New Japan. I mean, it's a blow because it's a top guy leaving. So even though, you may not like House of Torture, as far as, star power merch, I mean, he was a fairly decent merch mover. And he was a star, on the shows.
The ability to get over Aaron Wolf.
Yes, exact. Thank you, Brian. Brian trying over there, at least. Instead of crying, he was trying on this clip.
That was really good. He was really good there. You know, I mean, like he was the best guy.
Yeah. The best. He was the best guy. Oh my God.
That was really good. He was really good there. You know, I mean, like he was the best guy in the company for that role. Yeah.
The new best guy, Brian. Oh man,
The best guy is Tony Khan.
That match was really good, but again, Dave was like, this guy he was just talking about how fat he was and shit, like Aaron Wolf. But yeah, that match, like Aaron Wolf handled that really well. And that's what I'm saying. That's why, if you guys want to know why Evil should be in WWE and is gonna work in WWE, and if you want to see how good Aaron Wolf is, just go and watch that match from Wrestle Kingdom. Try and find it. I'm sure it's somewhere. You just type it into Google, get a VPN or some shit, nordvpn.com/Pro Wrestle Times, and watch that match, because that's why Evil will work in WWE. Like, he just knows how to work and do. If you know how to do spots and shit, like, you're gonna be good for almost any TV show. It's just like knowing where to be and shit, I guess, is like what I'm trying to get at. And Evil does that really well. Aaron Wolf did that well. I point that out with a lot of guys too, like Trick Williams. He just knows where to be. The rest of it's gonna come along. Like, he just has the instincts down that are gonna make him like a good TV wrestler. It's all the reps in NXT, you know? And that's why, like, Javon, I know Brian spurgs out about why is Javon in NXT so long, and I'm glad he's called up. Hopefully he heals up, but it's like, that's why you get those reps in NXT. Like, you're working all the time, and once you get to Raw, it's like, once a situation happens on live Netflix, you know how to handle it. You've had so many reps. I know that these two old chuckle fucks don't understand this. But speaking of Ciampa, we brought up a moment ago. So this is how they cover Ciampa. So Evil's going to WWE. They just bury him. And then Ciampa shows up. Dave doesn't have a word to say about it, doesn't confirm it, leaks a story out that Ciampa's going to the Indies and Nuge, not AEW. And then he shows up, and then here is their coverage of that.
And the lights went out. They did this very elaborate entrance.
That's contrast.
And Tommaso Ciampa has debuted for AEW, and his first match will be against Briscoe on Collision this Saturday night.
That one can go either way, because there's the argument that Ciampa's in, you don't want to beat him right away. And there's the argument.
It's fucking Tommaso Ciampa. It's fucking bald with a beard Roderick Strong, okay? And that's not even me burying him. That's a compliment, but that's what you compare him to. It's not like fucking Brock Lesnar. It's not like Bobby Lashley comes in your company. Well, that's how Tony booked him, I guess. Yeah, maybe if you're thinking. I'll retract it on this point. Maybe he's speaking, because him and Tony obviously share the same mind, the sicko hive mind. So perhaps that he's saying like, oh, the way Tony's gonna book him, but he's not saying that. So I'm giving Dave a lot of rope on
go either way, because there's the argument that Ciampa's in, you don't want to beat him right away. And
you beat him right away with Mark Briscoe. Mark Briscoe's your guy, who you've been running with, who's been on TV every week. Beat Ciampa's ass, who comes in from WWE at this stage in his career. The fuck are we talking about?
The argument that, I mean, you don't necessarily want Briscoe to lose the title before when you're building up the Fletcher thing. So
building up the Fletcher thing? We all forgot about that. No.
There you go.
I'm joking.
Well, historically, a lot of people lose their first match in AEW. So if I had to pick, I would guess that Ciampa is not winning that title. But we shall see.
Well, I mean, it doesn't really matter. What matters is, does he come in there and have a killer match?
Oh, God. When has that mattered, Dave? In the last how many decades? When has that mattered?
Shut up, bitch!
This is what I'm talking about, dude. I want to see AEW turn this shit around. God, they're on like death's door with this WBD deal. And like, I tried, you guys know, I don't want to be all doom and gloom about it, but with the Netflix WB merger, acquisition, whatever the fuck you want to call it, it's more doom and gloom, I think, than originally I didn't want to. I was coping. Okay. Your boy was coping. Okay. And just beat Ciampa, bro. Beat Ciampa. Tony paid him a shitload of money. He's going to barely have to work. He's not going to book Ciampa well. Ciampa is there to help get guys over and make guys look good, and it doesn't mean he can't win some matches. Fucking Dean Malenko won matches, okay? And he fucking ruled. And Ciampa is a great wrestler, Brian. Like, I know what you mean. He can do the moves good. He sells well. He's technical. He knows where to be. He's world class in that regard. As far as like right now or in the future, in 5 years, 10 years down the line, listen to how Dave is talking about like what matters is he goes and have a good match. Meanwhile, for Evil, it's like he's not going to do anything. He's not going to do much. And I'm trying to be nice here, but if I just came out and was like, Champ ain't going to do shit, he ain't going to do nothing. It's crazy how Dave is just so incredibly biased.
Because if it's a killer match, it doesn't matter if he loses, especially with AEW. So that's the key, and the potential's there.
And I get, okay, listen, he is right. If you want to mark Tone in, just like have a crazy ass good match, quote unquote, that Tone will be, oh, it's great. It's great. Yeah, no, I gave you more time. Right? If you can get Tone doing that at the monitor, then yes, you're going to have like a job there for a long ass time, and Tone will just pay you a shitload of money. And Champ, and I'm all for the boys doing that, so I'm not burying that, but I am going to bury Dave's bias. I'm going to call it out and point out why it's hypocritical, as you all know.
I mean, Ciampa's really good. Mark Briscoe's a guy who can have a good match with anyone who's good.
Oh, see, now he's burying Mark Briscoe. When has Mark Briscoe had a bad match with anyone? Could have a fucking good match with a beer bottle, and this guy's sitting here going, I mean, he can have a good match when it's like with someone good. So are you saying he's not good now? So Champ is really good, but Briscoe's not good. What the fuck are you talking about?
Briscoe can have a really strong match with, and someone who's great, he can have a absolutely killer match with. So, on paper, this is a great match.
Dude, Ava Rain could have a great match with someone who's really great. And that's why I kicked your leg from your leg, Brett. Oh my God, Dave is just a spurg. Like, what the fuck is he even babbling about? Burying everybody. Wow, wait, what an endorsement. This is why fucking everyone gets over in AEW. Because you have that really cool and in-touch guy being realistic and fucking saying things that make sense about AEW. And that's why everyone loves it so much. And this is their biggest ambassador. So speaking of people getting buried, right? Dave Meltzer buries Billy Gunn for no fucking reason. And we have wrestlers and people in the biz surrounding the biz responding to this. Shout out Robbie Fox, who responded to this and then got mad at me. So, yeah, this is what Dave Meltzer had to say about Billy Gunn for no reason. Fucking standing Kyle Fletcher, which is fine. And man, Fletcher is awesome, but again, I feel gross putting him over because Dave endorses him so hard. I think that's why I'm like a Thursday hater too, is because Dave just glazes her and she is so good and is like the future of the biz, but it's like, fuck, man. You guys got to do a Nathan Frazier. Dave used to fucking just blow Nathan Frazier and do what he's trying to do for Javon Evans, where Dave Meltzer says shit like, oh, Javon, you'll go to AEW and get paid 10 times more and all this shit. Like, why would he signal that? How would he even know? Everybody knows Tone pays a shitload, but especially for flippy guys like that. But Dave talks directly to Tone. So obviously he's like relaying conversations. Obviously he's talked to Tony about it if he's going to go say it on the fucking show. Like, people aren't stupid. We understand, especially old timers, right? So with Nathan Frazier, Dave used to do the same thing. And he was always like, man, this Frazier, he's just amazing, blah, blah, blah. Notice he doesn't glaze Frazier anymore. Why? Because Frazier once quoted Dave Meltzer and he was like, rare Dave Meltzer W. And that's enough to hurt Dave's ego. That will garner a block. Much less has garnered a block. And so he didn't even bury Dave. And he put over like the people praising him. But at the same time, it's sort of like a shot at like, Dave is rarely, and I love that. And Nathan Frazier's over as fuck with me forever. Was way before that too. But I mean, And Dave's right. Frazier's an incredible talent. Like, I always say this when people are like, no one can do what Ospreay can do. It's like Frazier can do everything. He can do faster. So, like, what are we talking about? And he can do the WWE style, you know? It's unfortunate that there isn't a fucking cruiserweight division that's treated like an Ultimo Dragon Super J championship, whatever the fuck. Because I think it would do wonders for guys like Gargano and Frazier, and if there was like a junior heavyweight, light heavyweight title that fucking really was like their world title. And I know that the people are like, oh, come on now, Phil, that's not very fair. Like little guys can be champs too. And I know that, but in the current landscape of WWE, I don't see that for a while, man. Nobody below 6 feet is getting that fucking title for a minute. Either of those titles for a minute, unless you're Rey Mysterio, he's hurt again. You know, and even he's done doing that. So Dave, though, he will, again, his glaze for Frazier, I want to see Gray and other folks like sort of shoot him down like that in that way, because his endorsement is toxic. That's the point I'm getting at, right? And he's so goddamn out of touch. Like that last shit we played, he just buried AEW thinking he's getting AEW over. And this is the guy who Tony's calling and whose ideas he's listening to and who he's running the shows by before he fucking books them. And Dave is probably the only person he'll listen to critique from as well. Dave Meltzer, again, this is admitted. Dave admitted this at the end of last year, or maybe it was the beginning of 26, like a few weeks ago. I can't remember, but regardless, Dave Meltzer just admitted, like, Tone called me up in 2019 when I gave a bad review of a Dynamite, and he promised me he'd make the show better. Why the fuck would you promise Dave Meltzer that? That's like calling Vince Russo and asking, no, just at least Vince Russo's writing and booking a fucking show that people are watching and shit. Dave ain't doing that. He's doing fire sales on the fucking people aren't even reading the Observer anymore. So anyways, I say all that to bring it to this now. Like Billy Gunn gets buried by Dave, and the way the wrestlers rallied behind him, it's like the opposite effect. If Dave's burying you, people are going to come and support you because he's such a fucking clown. And that's how you can tell. That's how you can tell Dave's just cooked and fried at this point in the year of our Lord 2026. So here is his take on Billy Gunn, and he buries him, and then all the wrestlers and just people in the biz came to support Billy Gunn. Not that he even needs it, you know, like Billy Gunn probably heard this shit and was just like, buddy, you fucking mark. Like, do you know the people I've helped get over and the fucking shit I've done? Like, what are you talking about? And so boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages gathered together and got Billy's back on this, which I love to see. I'm not a dirt sheet, whatever. Motherfuckers have told me that this dude has been leaving for a long ass time. So I'm just like, I'll believe it when I see it. Cause it's a rumor that's been floating around forever. And then he just randomly appears on Dynamite, which is good. I hope Billy stays employed. I would love him to be in NXT, like coaching kids, but in AEW, it'd be awesome if they set up a thing where he could like coach kids and stuff like that. And I'm sure he is on like a personal level, but you know, with professional sports teams flexes and all this shit, you think maybe a facility where people could like routinely work out, and if you're on a certain level deal, you have to at least show up there a few times a week and get some reps in. And imagine the wonders that would do for the future of pro wrestling, not just the short-sighted right now. Oh, a match. Oh, a match. That was great. Oh, it was just amazing. Jingle more keys in front of my face.
Don Callis put him over. He's like Kyle Fletcher. Paul White is like, I wouldn't say he's like the level of Billy Gunn. And I'm thinking like, dude, Billy Gunn on his best day isn't half the wrestler Kyle Fletcher is today. Probably not even a third. You know, it's like, but Billy Gunn is from that era, so he must be better than the.
What the guys? I'm like tired of this. Like,
day isn't half the wrestler
on his best day. He isn't half the wrestler Kyle Fletcher
is today.
If I'm Fletcher, I'm hopping on Dave Meltzer Dumb Moment of the Week with Phil Marks next week. And roasting the fuck out of this guy.
Oh my God, it's the greatest thing I've ever seen.
Like, jeepers, man.
Probably not even a third. You know, it's like, but Billy Gunn is from that era, So he must be better than these guys. And it's just kind of like Kyle Fletcher legitimately might be, what, top 5, top 7 in the world? I think Billy Gunn was ever top 200.
What does that even mean? I don't even get what that means, dude. Was he ever top 200? Well, what year? Can you like narrow it down? In 97? Was he a top 200? I don't fucking know, man. Maybe when was he in the Smoking Guns? Do you mean then? Maybe. There wasn't a whole whack of a lot of guys on TV wrestling at a high level at that time. Maybe. What does this even mean? Kyle Fletcher, he's not a third as good as Fletcher. Fletcher, you have to roast Dave for this. You can't let him say this. Like, I'm sure Fletcher's super profesh. I bet he like hit up Billy Gunn and was like, bro, this guy's talking some bullshit. But you need to denounce him.
I don't want to say
I'm just joking.
That, but I will say it was never top 5.
Oh, no, wait. There were probably 10,000 wrestlers around the world. Okay. You know, top 200 is a pretty high thing. He wasn't, I mean, top 200 famous? Absolutely, because he was in WWE and was a star. But I mean, top 200 worker, when you're talking about Japan and Mexico?
Oh, bro, this worker shit. So being a star, being charismatic, being able to talk, being a part of like great angles and great creative fucking storylines and all of this stuff, and being a part of like one of the hottest factions of all time, none of that factors into being a good worker. This is what Dave doesn't understand. Work isn't just the physical aspect in pro wrestling. And it's crazy. The man's been writing about this shit for 50 years.
Not a chance. Those guys.
Not a chance, Brian.
There's so many. Like, if you do today top 200, the number 200 guy is someone who's pretty freaking great, you know, out of all these guys all over the world. But, you know, it was just like, come on.
And who gives it? Come on. Who's like, what do you mean? So physically at doing the moves. Physically at doing the moves, he wasn't as great. But, okay, John Cena physically at doing moves, but he's also like a bodybuilder, so he's going to have a different moveset, which like Ospreay couldn't do the type of power feats that fucking John Cena could do. So like, what are we comparing here? You mark. And this guy has influence over people in pro wrestling and people's jobs and shit like this.
Poor people don't like AEW.
And burying him, why? What does burying this guy? Oh, and then this is the problem too. Dave and Bry get mad about kayfabe. So in kayfabe, they're like presenting him as this guy who, yeah, dude, because you want, when Billy Gunn gets beat by Fletcher, you want it to mean more. So you want to diminish him for a shoot because in kayfabe, they want to present him as a guy who's a legitimate Hall of Famer against two guys that they're trying to get over, like Takeshita and fucking Fletcher. And you want to diminish Billy Gunn because that'll help get Fletcher. Like, he doesn't realize he's burying AEW. You're uncool, Dave. Tie-dye's not cool. It wasn't cool when the Dudleys wore it. That's why they were wearing it. They wore it ironically, dude. You're cooked.
Oh, like, not only that, but it's like Kyle Fletcher's the freaking future of this company.
The future of the company that might not exist in 4 years. And that's even being generous. 3 years. And Dave is saying this like he's the future of the company, but how do you fucking know? Is Tone telling you this, or are you saying this? What if Kyle Fletcher can't draw? What if he breaks his neck because of the dumb shit he keeps doing that you give 5 stars to, and then lie and say, I just don't want them to get hurt, Brian. But then Moxley, a veteran, by the way, who should know fucking better, dumps this kid on his head, and he ends up like fucking Ospreay in 4 years. What are you talking about? The future of the company? It's not going to be a future. Protect your neck.
It was also interesting that Austin took the pin.
It's like, Austin took the pin. Yeah, the guy who's never on TV, the guy out of these 4 AEW fans care about the least. Oh, he took the pin. So they didn't want to beat Billy Gunn. Billy Gunn said, hey, guess what, Dave? Because Billy Gunn's not a mark, he said, no, I'm not just putting him over. No, he probably didn't even say that, but he's just like, no, I'm not. I'm not putting him over, dude. Why the fuck would I do that?
Not only that, but it's like Kyle Fletcher's the freaking future of this company. It was also interesting that Austin took the pin.
Took the pin. I need that for the soundboard, chat. We got a lot for the soundboard.
Wait a minute.
Austin. Wait a minute. Oh my God. I'm Snagglepuss. Oh my God. Isn't that Snagglepuss? Oh. Snagglepuss Dave. Oh my God. Let's listen to that again. That makes me laugh. He took the pin. What is this? My God, Brian. And what's the deal with airline food? Jerry Meltzer.
Chance. Those guys, there's so many. Like if you do today, top 200, the number 200 guy is someone who's pretty freaking great.
The number 2 guy, not the best guy, but the number 2 guy, Brian.
These guys all over the world. But, it was just like, come on, like not only that, but it's like Kyle Fletcher's the freaking future.
Like, come on, I love it so much. The best guy's Tony Khan, man.
The best guy's Tony Khan.
Come on, like not only that, but it's like Kyle Fletcher's the freaking future of this company. It was also interesting that Austin took the pin. It's like, wait a minute. Austin shouldn't be the one taking the pin.
Why? Make the clip 20 seconds longer and explain why. Or does he not? Why should Austin not be the one taking the pin? That doesn't even make sense. So Dave Penzer responds and says, I believe this argument to be insane on so many levels. That is all. Who else responds? Anthony Bowen says, I haven't spoken to Billy in 6 months, but this is wildly out of pocket and unnecessary. Oh my good God. Conrad goes, oh, come on now, Dave. That's not very fair. Let me chat you up. There's a lot to unpack here, Dave Meltzer, about your recent comments. Let's unpack it together, Eric. Oh, come on. Love Dave's work, but this is just wildly out of pocket. Oh, come on now, Dave. I've never met anybody in the business who talks like this. Saying he wasn't one of your 200 favorites is fair, even if disrespectful. But to say that objectively, based on what metric? And if you want to save 20% on metrics, head down to save with PWT.com. Put some respect on Billy's name. So yeah, there you go, dude. Conrad jumped in with what he had to say about it. And Dave Meltzer, he just can't help himself but bury people in AEW, especially seemingly like to put certain people, because he's just so agenda driven. He just wants to put certain people over at the cost of everything else. Like he doesn't care. And then like recently, again, to pick a guy like Fletcher. Yeah, like picking people like Fletcher and Kendall Gray. Yeah, for sure. They could be the future. I think everyone can point to that. It's not a crazy like, hey, look out for this guy who's the next fucking thing. Which I try to do a little bit, but it's just, it's again, a lot of this shit. Like everybody knows Javon Evans is going to be a star, like when WWE saw him and AEW had the chance to get him and they fucking missed it. And now Dave's like, oh, they should pay him a bunch of money. But the reason why Dave hates Billy Gunn is because Billy Gunn recently buried Dave Meltzer's philosophy on wrestling, or one of the many philosophies of Meltzer on wrestling. But, Billy Gunn talking about how people are lazy and nobody knows how to work. And I agree to an extent. Like there's a lot of wrestlers who, and this is just in society, people are entitled as fuck and they get paid more money. Like a lot of these people, Tone is paid so much fucking money and they do it under the guise of you just got to be at the TVs or whatever when we need you. We don't even need you every week. A lot of them would like never see that money that quick in the wrestling business ever before or without putting in the reps like guys like Billy Gunn have or hitting the road. And we're starting to see in wrestling as well. Like, okay, when you're wrestling a lot and hitting the road a bunch and doing 200, 300 days a year, brother, 400 days in Japan, dude, your body calluses. And yes, after a while, once you're like calloused, after a while, and you have these reps in, and the wrestling seems so intense because everyone was touching all the fucking time constantly, and the internet wasn't there to stooge every live event. Like now every live event is like a medium to big sized event because they know people are going to bring their cell phones, leak all the clips. People are just going to upload full segments from the show. So they still do house show stuff, but they, like everybody points to, oh, we saw Braun and CM Punk work out that spear spot on house shows leading up to this. It's like, fuck, that's stuff we aren't supposed to see. But back in the day, not all your shit was getting spoiled from the house shows. And also, when you do the house shows all the time and you're just like on the road constantly and you get calloused and you get banged up over time. Accumulative shit happens, but it seems like guys were getting less seriously hurt. When you're more callous, does that make sense? Like people are wrestling less. There's like a fine balance, I think, that you got to find. There's a sweet spot. And I think they should ramp up house shows. But I think there's a sweet spot of like, okay, you're on the road a lot. And yes, we'll give you the family time off. And if you're a top guy, okay, like Cody Rhodes, you can work as much as you're in Hollywood and shit now. And yes, we need you on TV weekly, but also like you have some leniency. I'm all down for all of that. But at the same time, like just to keep people healthy, I think it's true. Like if there's a PC, at least the people in WWE and at the PC, like they have to be there and they're taking advantage of it. Whereas in AEW, like imagine you get put on 100K and you were just on the indies and then there's nowhere to train. Or if there is, it's like an optional William Regal's in the ring at 6 p.m. And if you want, you can come. And then Regal's like, nobody was there. And then Dax from FTR is like, I was there. I was learning more wrestling moves to feed my family. And then it's like, yeah, but Dax, he's not talking. You guys know how to work. You're FTR. It's good that you guys are still absorbing. That's awesome. I love that. But you guys already are good. He's talking about the young people, like these fucking Jack Perry motherfuckers who run CM Punk out of the company. Like that is not good. And when Billy Gunn's talking about knows how to work, again, it's the fucking tenacity. It's the, like, when you go back and watch Jeff Hardy versus RVD in a hardcore match, there's an element of these guys are fucking crazy and dangerous. When you watch Bret Hart, we've talked about this a lot. When you watch Bret Hart, there's just the intensity. Kurt Angle as well. Brock, Chris Benoit was another guy where just the tenacity of them in the ring, that's missing in pro. Even you know who Shawn Michaels, dude. He fought like, even though he wasn't like a tiny dude, especially in comparison to today. But when he was fighting Vader and shit, like you could believe it, man, because the way he throws his punches and shit, and he came up like, he worked some rough territories and shit. And he was in locker rooms with some badasses and stuff, and he got in shoot fights with Bret Hart, where he ripped out clumps of his hair, according to Jim Cornette and whatnot. So I'm not saying he's some Billy badass, but he like was believable fighting guys bigger than him and stuff. And that's why he got over and shit. And his selling, of course, too. Shawn Michaels selling, like impeccable. Same with Bret Hart, same with Ric Flair. I think that's like a key thing. But again, that's part of working. So when Dave goes, oh, he's a way better worker. And then Dave hyper fixates on this term work that Billy Gunn brought up, because this is what Dave's specifically responding to. He hyper fixates on the work aspect, but he doesn't even fully comprehend what that means, because Billy Gunn's talking about everything. And like I bet Dave doesn't even consider selling part of working. And you can tell he doesn't, because if you put over, no offense, I like Fletcher. I even like Ospreay, honestly. Like his, weird shit with Triple H is funny, but it is what it is. I got weird shit between me and Dave, bro. I get it, okay? But this whole thing with work, like selling is a part of that. Being entertaining, which selling, of course, is a part of being entertaining. That's why Chelsea Green's so good. Yeah, she can do promos and silly shit, but she sells her ass off. Like that's part of her allure, So this is what Billy Gunn's talking about, of course, because he's actually a fucking guy who did this shit at the highest levels. Top 200. There was an indie in Cuba that he wasn't as good as the wrestlers on that show, Brian. I was there. Like, what the fuck are you babbling about? So anyways, I took a long way of getting to this is why Dave is mad at Billy Gunn, and it's all just stupidity anger, dumb anger.
Billy Gunn, I don't know if you've seen his comments or anything, but he thinks all the talent now is lazy. Don't these guys work like 3 times as
Hey,
hard
listen,
as
I had a lot of criticism about that Dynamite show, but I will never say those guys were lazy. In fact, the problem is they're not lazy enough. If we're being honest, they're going to kill each other.
They're not lazy enough. No, bro. And again, these fucking marks. Bry's such a mark. Yes, they go and it's like move. Yes, physically exerting yourself. That's the complete opposite of lazy. But it's it's just a cheap, lazy way of getting over, as opposed to taking the time, milking the crowd, looking. And it's so funny too, because whenever Edge and Christian wrestle guys, they go, oh man, these guys cooked. What a great match. Yeah, because Edge had a WWE match with them. He fucking builds up to spots and makes it's like, what don't you get about what he's fucking doing out there? Why Edge is still can go out there and have like a passable match with Daniel Garcia that isn't cringe as fuck. So instead of like doing that, the work is fucking not being part of the work is like restraint, dude. That's also discipline. That's also hard work. That's also not being lazy. Selling, learning to do the shit that actually gets other shit over instead of just copping out and like, I can backflip, I kick out, then kick out. And I get it too. And I don't want to knock the boys. This isn't a knock on the boys and girls. And I'll tell you why, because they're also doing it because Tony loves that shit. And they know they'll get booked a lot if they do that shit for him. And Tone loves it because of Dave. The root of all evil, right? It stems from Dave. And then Tone wants to see that. So I'm not like knocking the people in the locker room for fucking, but that's why Joe rules. Why does everyone like Joe? And when he's a champ, people are like, oh fuck yeah. Why is he the only consistent? Like, okay, Joe lost the title. Look at the fall off they've had since Joe lost the title, ratings wise. He's the only guy who can like steady the ratings or increase them a little bit and the houses. And then boom, they just fucking fall right. He loses the belt. A bunch of people tune out again. Why is that? Well, because he doesn't have these fucking mark-ass sicko matches with motherfuckers, that 4-way or whatever. Maybe it was a bit, but he didn't. What was Joe doing? He wasn't doing flips. He just came in and did his fucking spots. He goes in there and he has a fucking match, like a real fucking good wrestling match. And he doesn't have to do all this sicko shit because he knows how to get over, take his time. He looks dangerous, right? And Dave doesn't factor any of that into anything. None of that matters. It's just, are you fucking Jack Evans? Or will you jump through glass like Darby Allin? Or will you land on your head Misawa and then I'll put you over? I'll give you 5 stars if you're in your 20s and land on your head like Misawa and Ospreay and all these other fucking guys, Shibata and all these guys who fucking have fucked up heads and necks.
Everybody.
Or passed away,
that's
unfortunately.
It's like he's saying that these guys.
The point I'm making, though, is I bet wrestlers will tell you this, too. The pacing and all that, that's part of not being lazy. Like, that's putting in the work. I'm sure flipping 400 times is really fun. And I'm sure in Mexico, that shit gets over like crazy. Just in the Americas. This is just, I'm giving you good advice. In the Americas, bro. People don't give a fuck entirely about that on a weekly wrestling show. Now, if you just want to do a super indie and upload the shit to YouTube and Tone wants to have matches in his backyard or at the E Stadium or whatever, and it's just like an indie or whatever. But when motherfuckers get attacked for being like, you're not the challenger brand, AEW isn't. And then TNA creeps in and then now it's like, nope, TNA, how dare you call it a number 2? Okay, that's what everyone was saying to you about AEW. It's not working, dude. Like a weekly TV show, you got to do the sports entertainment-y aspect. And I would say, and I think everybody in the wrestling business understand this, there's more money in being a TV/streaming, whatever, PLE, pay-per-view wrestling box office draw star at the highest level, which is objectively WWE. So why would you be shitting on Billy Gunn when he was in DX, bro? He was in Billy and Chuck, which was more over than Fletcher has been in his career. And that's, again, not a knock on Fletcher. That's just being objective about AEW.
that the young generation are lazy. It's like, of all the things to say, that's a really weird world, and how, that they don't know, and nobody knows how to work. It's like fucking Kenny Omega is in this company, and you're saying nobody knows how to work. You know what I mean? Like, Kenny Omega is like one of the best wrestlers I've ever seen in my life, and you're saying nobody knows how to work. It's like that dude was like, he was better than 95% of the guys in Billy Gunn's day by a lot.
Oh my God, just burying the whole Attitude Era.
The top guys in that era, sure, they're close to that level.
The Attitude Era, who they just dropped a video game about that trends harder than AEW, that they're doing a video game 30 years later to celebrate, and this guy's burying it.
God. I mean, especially it's Billy Gunn. Do you know what I mean? It's not like it's like if it's Shawn Michaels, who would never say that, that's the other thing. Brett might.
Yeah, Shawn Michael, exactly. Brett might. So are Brett and Shawn not two of the GOATs, Dave? And they have different perspectives. Why? Well, because I'll explain why. And again, you don't have any, I hate to keep using this word, but objectivity. Dave can't remove himself and look at things objectively and go hey, my feelings aside, or let's try and understand why. Because Brett is just an outside observer who just sees shit on TV. So he might go, people look lazy and shit. Shawn Michaels is in the weeds, and he's surrounded by and training kids who are from all over the place. Indies, homegrown, NIL, veterans who are trying to find their footing again, and they're hungry for it. And most of them want to be the best of the best, and it's their fucking dream to get accepted. So, of course, Shawn Michaels wouldn't say that. Billy Gunn, again, he's backstage in AEW. Every veteran, literally every single veteran,
The best guys, Tony Khan,
says the same thing, that the fucking young guys in AEW, and he didn't single out AEW. He is just speaking in general, but Dave takes it personally. In general, they're fucking lazy in comparison to the work of past generations, or if you go to the PC and see what those guys are doing. Or even on the indies. There's a lot of guys on the indies that I'm sure work fucking harder than people on the AEW roster have felt the need to after they make all that fucking money, especially in the early days, man.
But Brett wouldn't call them lazy. Brett might say nobody knows how to work.
Brett would just call them gay. Oh, they're gay, and he was a boy toy for a reason and not there with Vince,
But it's like
they were gay lovers, and that.
You know what I mean? It's like if Ric Flair says it, you know what I mean? But it's freaking Billy Gunn.
If Ric Flair says it,
saying that these guys are lazy and don't know how to work.
And then the fake, you're not really outraged by this. He knows he's talking out of his ass. He knows he is, and that's why he's fucking, I don't know. He just has this cheesy cadence about him there while he's talking about it. So Dave Meltzer, he kind of gets in arguments with some folks. Not kind of, he does, but someone sent me to this right before I went on the air. Julian Week says, ignoring how much he's improved is wild. If Hunter doesn't push him, you write up pieces about him not pushing black men. If he pushes them, then you try to diss, whatever. Well, not whatever. That's a great point, but Dave doesn't listen to that. He goes, an agenda to tell the truth and not give a fuck. The amazing thing about Twitter is that I'm literally a mirror. The hopelessly biased cry I'm biased. Nobody else possibly could, because I'm the student of every aspect of this game. Bro, he is utterly fucking delusional.
stupid idiot.
He's legitimately a crazy person. And he's like, I'm a mirror. No, dude, you project. You're a projector, Dave. You're not a mirror. And that's why you think people are projecting onto you. This is why you blocked everyone into a bubble, not just 10 follower sickos who are bots, the Rons and the fucking AEW Shields. You respond and talk to those people, Dave. We talked about it on the last PWT live show. You talk to those people. You block anybody who fucking calls you out on any of this shit. And you think you're a mirror is the funniest part. You're a projector, bro. The exact opposite. You don't reflect, dude. You project. And that's why you think you're a fucking mirror, bud. And he says the hopelessly biased cry I'm biased. no, you're biased. This isn't the hopelessly biased. It's the majority of people collectively going, this is what it is. It's Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, Dave? And you're like, I'm convinced the answer's D. And everyone's like, no, it's B. And then, like, yeah, there's a handful of people left who are like, oh, no, it's C, I think. But no, you got to go with the majority on this one, dude. There's a reason, Dave, there's a reason that your Observer newsletter did fire sales all of 25, 50% off, and then started this 26 off with like a $80 off if you get the year upfront deal. And I'm not hating on deals and shit, but it's just the fact that all year, once a month, you ran a new, and literally it was once a month. This month, 50% off, whatever. Like, how come last year you had 50% off new subscribers the entire year? How come when we read your newspaper, Dave, because we read it on the show, you have spelling errors, run-on sentence, like no editor, no editing, which is like, okay, maybe we can let that slide because you're a fucking spurg and you're just typing away with your tongue wagging. I get it. But then why do you lie by omission, completely leave out things like key details in matches like, yo, the ref saw Okada stab this guy in Minecraft in the head with a fucking screwdriver, blatantly saw it, ruin the finish. Dave just omits that shit from his reviews, rates the match 4.5 stars. Like, bro, no, you're projecting again. The hopelessly biased. You are hopelessly biased. That's why we just played you being clips of you being hopelessly biased towards Kyle Fletcher, because it's not, this is why it's hopeless. You're hopeless because you're just clinging on, reaching for anything, and it's hopeless for the people you endorse. It's not going to help them at all. And then he says, nobody else possibly, because I'm a student of every aspect of this game. I would love to see Dave Meltzer wrestle a fucking match right
I don't
now.
know.
I would love to see Dave wrestle a pro wrestling match. Every aspect of this game, huh?
Oh my God, it's the greatest thing I've ever seen.
I would love to see Dave wrestle anybody and see how fucking stupid that looks. People have asked him, have you done any training or anything like that? And he said he did some stuff in Japan or something. And that was like a rumor floating around for a bit. Yeah, I don't know. Dave is completely coping here and just lying, saying he's a student of every aspect of this game. He doesn't know shit about streaming. Okay? He doesn't know shit about streaming. That's been proven. Nicolo Piccolo proved that. He doesn't know shit about pay-per-view numbers, which he recently got exposed for.
Liar!
Okay.
Tell us what you know, you goddamn liar!
And the guy that posted the spreadsheet, Dave just blocked him. Didn't even refute it or respond or anything. And all it did was show that AEW's pay-per-view numbers, the math doesn't make sense at all. And they're an anomaly. They just don't work. You know, I'd love to pull TNA's numbers. I'm sure they look similar to the other ones besides AEW's, you know? He got exposed for that, right? And so he's like, an agenda to tell the truth. Dave, you told more lies than anybody. Actually, more than anybody, man. Especially the last 2 years. Probably before then too, but we just don't know. Like, there wasn't people fucking A-logging this putz like I am. So, and then he's just such a condescending motherfucker. He fucking projects all the time. Like, he will say things like, these old podcast grifters. And it's like, Dave, you literally are an old podcaster, and you grift, bro. You do 50% off of $14.99, petty fucking buy my shitty paper where I omit information, and it's riddled with typos and fucking run-on sentences and gobbledygook. And I'm super biased towards one, you know? Like, that's a grift if I've ever heard one ever. 50-year one, dude. But yeah, so this guy, Joe Shad, says, why is ESPN broadcasting and analyzing WWE Royal Rumble wrestling? Well, because it's mainstream again. WWE's mainstream, you know? People can cope over that how they like, but Dave Meltzer says because they are paying them $325 million per year and thus have to do the best they can to justify that expenditure. or they invested in something and covering WWE content is what everyone's doing, stupid. Notice how all the biggest podcasts are having wrestlers on now. Now wrestling's like a cool thing. Wrestlers are in all the Hollywood flicks now, Dave. Wrestlers are getting shows on Netflix and their themes are playing in random shows where Seth Rollins is stomping dudes out in weird sci-fi shows and shit. And you notice how popular and mainstream WWE in particular, all of wrestling's feeling a boom, except for AEW and the wrestling Dave thinks is cool, which he says CMLL, but I mean, the tickets are super cheap. And not to knock it, it's still impressive. But like $8 tickets and shit. And like you can get them free easily. So it's just, and then also they own the building, so they could just say, yeah, we sold it out again. Even if there could be like hundreds not there for all we know. We distributed the house again. They could be saying that too for all we know. But Dave just hangs his hat on that. That's why he does that, because it's the only thing comparable to WWE in any way. So he goes, oh no, I love CMLL. But it's like, yeah, they're partnered with AEW and you clearly love AEW and that's fine. Just admit that shit. Just say, I'm biased towards this shit. Right? And so the way he frames it, because they're paying them all this money and they have to do the best they can to justify it. Or is it that Ariel Helwani has more pro wrestlers and Andrew Schultz and Joe Rogan and fucking everybody's get Theo Vaughn and all the biggest pods are having wrestlers on their shit and all these Hollywood movies, Street Fighter, Highlander with Henry fucking Cavill. You got your current WWE champions in that. Meanwhile, MJF is a backup. He's son number 3 in Adam Sandler's fucking Happy Gilmore 2. Right? And that's not, again, it's just there's levels to this. I'm just showing you one-to-one. Here's your world champions. MJF executive produced Iron Claw, and they fucking cut his scene out. Am I wrong on that? Someone fact check me. I think he helped produce that movie. And they cut his fucking, he's in it for a millisecond. Right? And you have the current WWE champions in Highlander with Henry Cavill in a fucking significant role. I wish I could tell you guys all about it. But again, that's spoilers for a flick that I'm going to encourage you all to go see. He has a fucking amazing role in that movie, which what his role is out there, but just some of the deets, what's going down in that flick, man. Drew it's amazing. And then the shit Cody Rhodes is doing. He was in Naked Gun. He's in Street Fighter. You're seeing Roman Reigns in more movies. Hollywood's Liv Morgan's in this big movie because CM Punk's in movies. They're now Hollywood goes, and I know this for a fact, Hollywood will pause for wrestlers now. Instead of like, well, fuck, if they want to do it, they're doing it on our schedule. Unless it's like Tarantino or Scorsese, if a wrestler's doing a fucking movie. And shout out Jericho, by the way. Again, he's coming back to WWE, but he's in some show with like Nicole Kidman that she's like in a wrestling ring or something, and he's in scenes with Nicole Kidman. So shout out fucking Jericho, dude. That rules. Again, it's not to justify anything, Dave. It's to put more pro wrestling content because people are into wrestling again. And wrestling is like member berries. It's like, you guys remember how superheroes got real popular, even though like I could list every X-Men and people would call me retarded for that when I was in elementary school, right? But you fast forward and, superhero movies are all the fucking rage. And everybody's raving and raging about fucking superhero movies in the MCU and DCU. And all of this sort of shit. Because why? Because it's kind of member berries. Like even people who grew up, like you might have not been into it, but like your brother was into fucking superheroes or you're a girl, you dated some dude, he had comic books or something. It was whatever. It's shit that people were kind of in, it's like gives you member berries in a way. It's nostalgia. Wrestling is that again too, especially WWE. So they're not justifying shit. They're just rolling out more programming and making WWE serious again, sports-based, trying to make people take wrestling seriously. I know that it wasn't Darby Allin shoving a pineapple up his ass and then doing a headstand in a fucking vat of soy sauce while bobbing for apples or whatever the fuck you're trying to see over there. I know it wasn't that, Dave, but it's them taking pro wrestling and trying to give it a sports-based feel and make it integrate it with actual sports. You dumb motherfucker. Because the money they spent, and then it costs money to put out productions like this. So, fuck are you talking about? And then Dave, again, I'm the student of every aspect of this game. Then why the fuck didn't you look at the PLE numbers for just the international? WrestlePalooza was among the highest. We just covered this, proving Dave's a fraud again. Not even counting the US. We just got a list of all the PLE numbers for global. Netflix's global reach. WrestlePalooza was one of the highest. So I don't know what to tell you, buddy. I'm sorry, people. I know it's a piss off. NordVPN.com/ProWrestleTimes. Save 70% on 2-year deals if you want Canadian Netflix and YouTube. But that's where all WWE is, by the way. If you have Canadian Netflix and YouTube, all of WWE, you don't miss anything if you're a WWE fan. So, and Dave doesn't understand that. Dave doesn't understand how popular VPNing is and how popular piracy even is. Like, imagine if we're factoring in how many people pirate ship WWE and things like this. It would be insane numbers, really, truly. But he can't accept that. But he's a student of every aspect of the game, quote unquote. And more of his bias here. I'm going to check him a chat, but more of his bias here. Dave Meltzer called all the talent on TNA Impact debut WWE scraps. So what does he call Gallus, Priscilla Kelly, Bishop Dyer, Caden Carter, and all the other ex-WWE looming in and around AEW? Now, chat, I'm not going to say who. 34K views, 629K likes. I'm not going to say who, but some of the wrestlers I listed here liked this fucking post. Okay, so I'm spitting. Okay, your boy Phil's spitting when they're liking the post, when it's like kind of shit, a place they could get a job. Obviously, you can't see likes, so it doesn't hurt to give a like away. But, and I'm just like, I didn't tag nobody, and I'm just keeping it real. Dave Meltzer called all the Impact. You got this Robbie Fox motherfucker getting mad at me today. Why do you hate on Dave, bro? Because he fucking hates on everybody. He calls all the ex WWE guys in TNA WWE scraps. What does he call all the people in AEW? What does he call Ciampa? Is that a WWE scrap according to Dave Meltzer? I'm curious if he called Ciampa WWE scrap. I'm real curious. Dave Meltzer, again, he goes 16,000 tonight at Arena Mexico. There's never been a run like this in pro wrestling history. 13 Mystico sellouts in 26. And then, this Pesner goes fucking in 3 weeks, 16. And when people say that Mystico's the biggest draw, I would refute that, because listen, NXT and I'm not trying to shit on Mystico. It's just, let's be objective here. NXT sells out all the time, not nearly as many people, right? But it's like their home turf. It's like their home base. And the tickets, again, I explained it. CMLL owns Arena Mexico. So if they go sold out again, they could just say that to people like Dave Meltzer. And there's no way of proving it. No one's doing a turnstile count. The building's not owned by someone else and CMLL runs out of it. They own the building. So again, tickets are $8. Or what is Glenn Gilberti says ticket prices for these shows are 10 to 40 USD. Okay, 10 to 40 USD. So let's say you pay $10 to get in. That's awesome. And I'm fucking pumped that CMLL does good business. But we even saw shows where Dave's like a sellout and Bad Bunny was in the front row and there were a bunch of empty sections. Now, CMLL easily could just say that they sold it out even if there's 100 people missing or whatever. And they could easily be handing out a bunch of tickets. Like, they own the building. So there's this is all I'm saying. And I'm not burying CMLL, but Dave, if WWE, because he doesn't put no clout on fucking NXT, like selling out the same building a bunch of times forever too. It's like their local fed and the tickets are more expensive. But when we talk about the biggest draws, like Mystico selling out 16,000 for $8 tickets, is that as big of a draw as John Cena selling out 16,000 for hundreds of dollars a ticket? I don't know. I think that clearly proves, like, why aren't people going and fucking flocking to see Mystico like he's doing houses? Like, this is the factor for that. It's like, if Mystico's such a ginormous draw when he shows up in AEW, why aren't the houses like, oh my God, he drew 8K? Well, because it's in Mexico. Is that what the argument would be? Because Dave literally last show argued, he said some shit like 2 times as many people will fly from America to Mexico to see Mystico. or whatever the fuck. So again, it's just always these weird fucking little nitpicky statistics and him just pushing Mystico, even though like nobody really cares, Dave. Like if you that's awesome in Mexico, but AAA went from not selling a lot of ticket, or they were selling out all the time too, but in comparison to like going to America and then selling as much as they are for the price they are now, like there's something to be said about that. And if Mystico, why doesn't that effect carry over anywhere? But WWE's effect carries over. I think it's just point blank period. WWE, obviously, they're the biggest draws, they're the biggest superstars. But when it comes to Mystico, it's in Mexico. So if Roman Reigns went to Mexico, he'd draw a shitload of money. Like if Cody Rhodes goes to Mexico, he draws a shitload of people. Now, Mystico does it consistently, but it's like your local crowd and the arena's owned by the fuck. So who is it really a sellout every single time? That's all. Like if WWE owned their own building and kept going 16,000, Dave and Thurston would have lawsuits against the building. Literally, Thurston would have lawsuits against the building trying to figure out if it was really the count. And then Dave would care about turnstile numbers, even though he fucking claims he doesn't care about that. He would then, if WWE owned the building and like was saying, yeah, 20,000 every week, he would be like investigating it and trying to debunk it. And we know he would be. So it's funny how he just uses this as this metric of success, which it is for CMLL as a company. But like, is that all just because of Mystico? Like, can you point to whenever Mystico's here, it's a sellout? I don't know. Someone who knows more about CMLL could educate me on that, but I don't know. It just, Dave putting it over, you just have to question it. You question everything Dave puts over. If that's something you learn and take away from the show, you gotta be like, denounce him or question it. No, I don't need any wrestlers to denounce him. He's just a clown. So Dave Meltzer gets called out by the GOAT. Meltzer said, what? Who says one of the most disingenuous propaganda proprietors on the planet. 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 So the Hitman says CMLL can't draw outside of Mexico. AAA is WWE. But it's true, though. That's the thing. And AAA showing it can draw outside of Mexico too, which is why Dave is going so hard with this Mystico agenda, okay? So Dave Meltzer says, yet their stars were the biggest draws for some sellouts when MLW brought them in. Right, and I've gone over this. MLW, their fans mark the fuck out for Mystico. AEW fans don't give a fuck about Mystico. They look at all of the luchas as just like generic interchangeable, and that's because how Tony books them. And I've always been critical of Tone. Early days of PWT live show every Wednesday and Saturday night, guys. If you guys go back in time, you guys will hear me saying all the time that Tone books luchas and women like shit. I've sort of let that go because he just books everything like shit. But yeah, to them, the luchas are just interchangeable. They don't give a fuck. And they even have hologram and a clone of hologram. And so thank you, Chicago Azteca Lucha. New all-time box office record. MLW sells out. Major League Wrestling has officially sold out its upcoming February 7 return to Chiquero Stadium in Chicago, marking yet another milestone for the league and its fans. The sellout makes it 4 consecutive sold-out events since 24. So do you guys see what Meltzer said? What is the stadium capacity? 1,800. So imagine like Raws do 18,000, 16,000, 11,000, 13,000, 20,000. That's what Raws do. The PLEs do 20,000, 30,000, 40,000, 50,000 2 nights in a row. 17,000, 26,000, right? That's what the fucking right? So this stadium, quote unquote, the attendance is 1,800. And also they sold it out 4 times before that, 3 or 4 times before that, before the CMLL Mystico crossover. Well, they always cross over with CMLL. That's the thing, right? If you like old luchas, Kojima, and fucking some other cool wrestlers like Cruel and fucking the Skyscraper shit, MLW rules, right? I want to watch Battle Riot. It's actually tonight, and it's not airing. It's going to be on a 7-day delay. I found out, god damn it. which sucks. I was hoping to watch some Battle Riot tonight, but I'll stick with Impact, I guess. But yeah, there you go. So he's just, again, he just says these things where he's like, yeah, it was the biggest draws for some sellouts when MLW brought them in. And it's like, bro, there are 1,800 tickets sold. That's fucking nothing. There, GCW can pull up with Matt Cardona and do that number. One fucking guy they can pull up and do it. Hog Wrestling does it. Like, maybe not that many, but you know what I'm saying? Like, okay, what is that? And this guy says they can't draw outside of Mexico. Dude, AAA is doing like thousands of people for pricey ass tickets in America. We're the kids in America. Ooh, whoa. So they were draws for MLW doing 1,800 seaters. And that's the capacity. When you set up a ring and everything, it's not 1,800. It's less than that, okay? Wrestling is a big setup, especially with the stage and the LED boards, because you can get those on the cheap now that everybody sets up, right? That's my one problem with pro wrestling now is like every Fed looks so fucking generic with their, oh, we can afford LED boards and a little ramp. I want to see some different shit, but that's just a side note. But yeah, so it's just like he just says this shit and people they eat it up and it's just fraudulent, you know? That, ladies and gentlemen, is why we roast Dave. That's why we will never stop roasting Dave Meltzer. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was Dave Meltzer dumb moment of the week. He got cooked. We cooked him. He's melted. He's schmelting. He's done. He's cooked.